Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome, everybody, to my Independence Report. It's Wednesday, and this may be one of the funnest hours on radio, I got to tell you. And it involves Matt Shea, the author Matt Shea. Go to mattsheabooks.net and pick up his audiobook and that I voiced and stuff and other books. He's got like 8 or 9 out there. Eric Hall is here, and he's wearing a suit because this is a very important program that we're having. Oh, nice pipe, by the way.
I haven't got a new pipe for today's show because I'm bullish for personal rights.
Exactly. And Kayla May, who is in parts unknown because she's blowing up balloons and getting ready for a party, but she wanted to be involved with us anyway. And so she's here today.
I smell cake.
Cake is in the oven.
No
cake in the oven.
Oh,
no.
Peas, fresh peas.
So that's it. That's it. And gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for being here. This is actually kind of a big day on the show today because this is the first of 4 episodes that we are doing today. This episode is, of course, with the Wednesday Forum, followed by a gentleman, a doctor, Dr. Leibowitz, who is going to talk about Robin Williams' brain problems and his death and all of that. Then we have a older lady that was a baby during Nazi Germany and the things that she's had to go through. She's got a book that is from rubble to something. As rubble to something else. and then we've got live clarifications with Natasha, and she's got a special guest she's bringing. So this is going to be a long day for our little old me, and I'm going to drag a couple of you with me if I can get that done. And Eric is going to probably hang on to the next one and stuff. But Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to talk about today?
Well, this is Gay Pride Month, as you guys know, and the Personal Rights in Defense Education Act. And this is something that's pretty damn important, and quite a bit of the world celebrates this, and it's necessary. It's necessary. As one of the great philosophers on your show once said, and she talks about animals quite a bit. The thing about animals is that they're able to keep a lot of the garbage out of their lives. They focus on what they do day to day. And humans are wonderful at mucking up their lives, making our own lives difficult. Myself, man, I've got demons I try to chase away all the time, and I'm not capable of that. So, how can we get by in a world when we make our lives difficult? And the fact you have to have a Pride Month, is a great indicator of just how messed up as humans and how much we can muck up our lives is.
Exactly. Well, I was talking with Fia, who's a singer-songwriter from Sweden, and this is June is Gay Pride Month there too. So apparently it is a worldwide deal.
Yes, it is. It is. They're very well organized. They're politically committed. They've been working on this a long time because, as you know, gays have been part of our world for as long as there's been a world. In fact, homosexuality exists in all parts of life on this planet. In fact, roughly speaking, about 10% of the population of all creatures on this planet exhibit homosexual behaviors. That includes, anything with vertebrates to non-vertebrates, primates, of course, bison, giraffe, penguins, swans. Well, go figure. Swans, everybody takes place, and in its natural course, it plays a functional aspect as well. It's not just a sexual impulse for gratification. It has its reasons to exist. For example, bisons, they're a horny bunch. When they get going, the young males, when they get going, they have to release.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, with herds, there's always a dominant male.
Yeah.
And this male controls the group. So he's got to have superiority over the young males who are trying to move up in the world.
Right.
So breeding with the female is not for them. So
Yeah,
they grab.
Well, I was just going to say he is the dominant one, so he has a harem, and everybody else look on from afar.
That's right. That's right. And so they grab a buddy, and they use their buddy to, get some of that sexual affection out of their body. That's just the way it's done, and that benefits the herd because that helps keep the peace. Now, interestingly enough, it's not just homosexuality that exists. There's in different, like the plant kingdom. And as you guys know, they're still discovering species underwater.
Right.
And there are species under the sea that take as many as 5 individuals to hold enough amino acids and what have you to procreate.
Really?
Yeah. So
you have done some work on this, and that's why you're wearing a suit and tie, because you're acting as the professor.
This is just general knowledge of, everything I learned online. So this is just stuff that comes up from time to time.
Now, Matt, I know that this topic is one that causes some consternation with some because they don't want to get typed into any particular thing. So, what's your opinion on?
Well, I'm from South Seattle, and so that was probably one of the very first places on the planet to start to make it public or whatever. And then my brother Dan, who I love dearly, Dan is a great man. Every day we go back and forth a bit. He's married to Lloyd. Lloyd is fantastic. Lloyd has 3 fantastic kids from a previous marriage. So they're as great as guys could be, but I'm from the outside looking in. I don't question their relationship, their family to me. But again, it's one thing if you're a part of the community. It's another if you're just outside and you're hearing what is being said about it.
Well, it's interesting how times have changed in the last 40 years or so, because when I was a kid, my grandmother lived in a mobile home, and next to her were 2 guys. And in those days, they said 2 bachelors were living together, and one was Dick and one was Harry, and nobody got the joke there apparently. And but it was like, oh yeah, they just prefer to work together and to live together because they can't find any suitable females that they want to live with, so they just share expenses and live together. Well, that wasn't accurate actually. But now gay marriage is legal, and I've got some very good friends of mine that are married and are a lesbian couple, and they are dynamic and they're wonderful. They're wonderful. Kayla, can you unmute yourself?
Sure can.
What's your take on this particular topic?
I'm just happy that it's coming out more and more and being more aware to the public that it's okay to express your sexuality. It's okay to be comfortable in your own skin. And there's no shame in it. And there shouldn't be any shame in it. There's some people that say, hey, that's not for me. And that's okay. And there's other people that are like, no, this is me. I'm all rainbows and sparkles and unicorns. I'm this way. I'm unique. And I love it. I love it that people can freely express themselves. And yes, we still have hate, division, and fear. We still have it. But if we embrace it, things can make a big change.
And they really have over time, because we are now in a place where I didn't think that we'd ever get to a place where people could marry anyone they wanted to, from the standpoint of another human. Now remember what they used to say, and Matt, you're probably familiar with this. They used to say, well, if you allow gay marriage, then these people, what's to prevent them from marrying a cow or marrying a sheep or stuff like that? And that really hasn't proven to be an issue at all for anybody, as far as I know, unless you're in Montana.
My former wife was on a softball team, and there were those who were of that lifestyle, but they would sit me down and explain things to me because I'm the foreigner, I'm the straight male, and they're the gals that are mixed. And they would say, it is our prayer that they go on to marry good men. I've met people in my life who went back and forth, but kind of going to one extreme to the other. And I've known of people who've had relationships that way that went back to the traditional ones. And so there's just a lot of juggling going on here. There's not a ironclad consistency here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Well, and by the way,
nature of humans.
Yes, and Paulette, who apparently lives in Montana, I had forgotten that. And so again, host puts foot in mouth, and so I sorry, Paulette, I didn't mean it. Honest, that was a joke. But now, Matt, go ahead.
In regards to Montana and this topic, I'm just going to say it. A few years ago, Starbucks from the Seattle area was experimenting with different sayings on their cups. Like you go to Denny's diners and they have nice little sayings on their cups. Well, Starbucks was going all over the place, and one of them said, "It's okay to be gay." Well, that's the shipment that got messed up. It wasn't supposed to go to Montana. Crates of that arrived at their coffee stores, and getting that, it just, what's wrong with this picture?
I love that.
Fact, it made the news. That. It happened.
That's funny. Well, Montana is where they have the Fluffy Convention every year.
The what?
The Fluffy Convention?
I don't
know. You talk, that's where people dress up as the animal of their choice. And they get together for rendezvous.
Well, nobody knows what they're doing. Okay.
Or who they are, but they might wear a rabbit suit, or they might wear a giraffe, a dinosaur suit, and they get in there and they're doing that in the motel room, and then they go their own ways.
And nobody knows that was a deer. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about that. But there is one very important thing about June that we've neglected so far. That's part of this group, and that Paulette had a birthday last Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday, Paulette!
There we go. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy belated.
Moving on. So,
she said, "Did you mean furry convention?"
Yeah, furry. Thank you.
I didn't realize
get that wrong. Deal. Fluffy, furry, whatever. Not that I. Too late.
Too late. We're going to enlighten you guys about all this. But I had no idea there was a fluffy or a furry convention in Montana and stuff. But and
we do now.
Yeah. So anyway, Eric, continue on.
Where were we?
Well, we've been lost.
About our amazing topic.
If we're talking about families that have been touched by homosexuality, I bet all families here has had homosexuality in their family. I had a gay uncle he was a god uncle. And we've had, America's actually had two presidents that have been rumored. One, it's pretty sure that was gay. James Buchanan, who his vice president was also gay, and they went everywhere together.
That was quite a good ticket then.
That was quite a good ticket. That was back in the 1800s. That I should have wrote down when that was, but anybody that knows me knows. And then, of course, it's rumored, and this is a rumor. This is not confirmed. And but Lincoln had a buddy.
And that you notice the silence that followed that.
Yeah, because people feel that it's a slight or shameful to be homosexual. So we have to be careful what we say about people just because of that perception. But when you look at it in the light of his time, and if he did indeed engage in homosexual behavior, that just speaks to the bravery and awareness of the man.
Absolutely. And it's I've told this story before, but it bears repeating in this forum because I have a good friend. His name is Michael. And by the way, he lives in Montana. It's oddly enough. Yeah. But I went to high school, or went to college with him and acted with him, and we were in plays together and stuff. And I knew, wink, wink, from early on that he was gay, but he didn't come out to us until his mid-30s. And so I asked him in a conversation, I said, so when did you know? Because there's this thing about, is it a choice or is it predestined? Is it natural? And I said, so tell me, when did you know? And he said, well, when I was 11 years old, my dad had Playboy magazines. And then Playgirl came out. And Playgirl, my mom, as a way of getting back at my dad for getting Playboy, she got a subscription to Playgirl. So he found both of those side by side one day, and he decided he had to pick which one he wanted to look at and which one he was more interested in, the male body, basically, or the female body. Guess what he chose? He chose the male body. He chose the Playgirl because and it wasn't something that he made a conscious decision about. He was 11 years old. It was that was that's what turned him on internally. And from that, when he told me that story, that kind of settled it for me that it's not a choice. And why would you choose to be 10% and ostracized and have to explain yourself all the time and all of that when you could be, if you choose to be heterosexual, you could be. And they've also tried to convert people back, and that has proven to be a dismal failure.
Pray the gay away.
Yeah, you can't do it because that's not what's in their heart. That's not what's in their soul. So that's all. As Forrest Gump would say, that's all I have to say about that.
Well, and it goes so much farther because humans, as many other creatures that participate in homosexual behavior, I mean, we can talk about dolphins and chimpanzees who do pretty much all the things we do. I mean, dolphins will grab a blowfish and turn it into a sex toy. Really? They'll grab an eel. They'll grab an electric eel. Get this. They'll grab an electric eel and you get a little charge out of that. So that's complex thinking. That's
a natural
complex
vibrator.
Yeah, there's some thinking and some thought out into what the reward is for playing with this toy. And, to the horror of the creatures that are subjugated, there's a final outcome to the whole thing. And there's even, let's see, was it Texas or Florida? There's a small town that had to keep people from swimming for a while because of the amorous affection of a wild dolphin that was predating the shores. So they had to shut down for a while until this dolphin found some other toys to play with.
Well, I don't know, Matt, what do you think? You haven't raised your hand much. I'm going to call on you more.
Well, I'm getting quite an education out of this. Again, I'm impressed with Eric, the research, because you're going beyond human beings. You're going with all living things.
Yeah, it's a natural occurrence. And of course, that's what humans try to do. We're always trying to place ourselves above the planet and above the animals around us to separate us, to give us some sort of moral justification for our existence. And part of that is sexual behavior, but that is also our downfall. Because if there's any part of our behavior besides greed that is a moral question or doesn't keep up with our higher selves as much as we would like, it would be our sexual behavior. And we can get into the complexity of just how diverse and complex we can get. Like I mentioned, is it last week? There's a reason why we have glory holes, because males will go anywhere. We don't care what's on the other side of that. It's that immediate. Well, I should say, some males don't care what's on the other side of that, and will just receive the pleasure for what it is in the moment. That's all that's important. Maybe not all the time to them, but at that moment, they don't care what's on the other side, which is the simplest form of a sexual gratification.
Exactly. Well, and us boys have got a problem with that, because we got testosterone that is coursing through our veins, and Kayla's got a 10-year-old. She's about to experience that with her child, and but it's
not till she's 30.
but it's a natural thing, and it's designed so that we can propagate the species. So somebody's got to wanna make babies, because a lot of women could really care less, quite frankly, or some of them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting how the two sexual drives are so different from each other. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kayla.
No,
Coming
it's
from
okay.
a female perspective, not all females have the drive that is up there like a man, but there are a good percentage of females that are just about, let's go.
Yeah.
When you're in your prime, I would say 19 to 30s, maybe mid 20s, they're like that. We're like you guys, we're just more modest. I'll be the blunt one and say it. We're just as bad as horn dogs as y'all.
Oh, wow. I guess
That's
I missed
good
that
news.
part. Yeah, because see, when I was growing up, it was all a game. It was, I chase you and you run. I was supposed to get it, and you were supposed to keep me from it, and that was the rules of the game. But now those rules have changed a bit, because girls that are growing up today have got a wholly different attitude about sex and about relationships and all that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, Susan, who was growing up in the late 60s and 70s, I cringed at my thoughts and attitudes when I was a teen and in my early 20s. So she cringed. So, but yeah. So, but I guess sex is, but it transcends sex. It's also a matter of love. And it's who you love and who you care about and what interests you have and stuff like that. And if there've been, Eric, help me here.
Well, I think sex and love are two different things.
True.
Love is certainly something that leads to sex. Sex can often lead to love, but it's not as successful when it's done in that order. Love is something of our higher selves that we try to attain. And because we do feel those emotions, and we do want to provide for that person or persons that we love, that enables our higher self to act and hopefully controls our sexual impulses, but those impulses still exist. Yeah. I can tell you, we all know multiple stories of married males that do a wonderful job of taking care of their family financially, and making sure that their kids are engaged in what they want to be engaged in, that their wife has everything they need, and support them in everything that they want to do, like as far as work or if not work, or whatever hobbies they want to pursue, but still have homosexual relationships or outside flings. It's even accepted in Europe. It's almost a done deal that Italians will have a girlfriend on the side.
Yeah.
So but America has a streak of fundamentalism that we are probably going to be slow to shake off. We're always going to have that that Puritan approach to marriage and sexuality that's going to hang with us for quite a while.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think about the news, things that come in that strike me funny. And when gay marriages started happening, well, when you have marriages, you're going to have some degree of divorces. And so they've had the divorces where the guy said, well, wait a minute, we're the same sex, and tried to use that as an angle that was nullified to begin with. But you get that. You get those legal battles for divorce on that side.
But if you were to look at the statistics, you, I think, would find that the percentage of gay people who stay married is much higher than the percentage of heterosexual people who stay married. I think that statistic has been proved true, at least in a short period of time. That because gay marriage has only been around for what 8 years, 7 years, something like that. But it has been. Because and the interesting thing about it, Matt, is I'll use my two friends as an example. They have been together 20 years. They love each other dearly. You can see the love that's in their eyes when they're talking to each other, and they're two lesbians. I have no earthly idea what their bedroom habits are. Don't care. Doesn't matter. They can do whatever they like or not do whatever they like. All I know is they've got 5 dogs, 2 cats. They love each other dearly, and they have a wonderful time together. Matter of fact, Eric, one of them is a supervisor at North Base for 35 years.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's just she's the one who got me the job at Metro. So
Very cool.
It's hard to, and I know we each of us have got I've got a scam likely coming in here. Each of us knows people that are married, that are gay that are in a very happy marriage, and they care for each other and you know what's anyway. I'm talking too much. Eric, what do you think?
Well, I think you nailed it when you talk about interpersonal relationships, and it's the individuals. I would suggest, I don't know this for real, but I would suggest that perhaps homosexuals, because of what they have to overcome to be together, which includes facing their fear of themselves, facing the fears that they have to overcome with their family and their friends. Then they finally meet somebody that they love, that they embrace this person, and there's an awareness that's a little more crystal clear in their actions and in what they think about that might bond that relationship a little bit better. That's just a supposition that I'm guessing at.
Kayla, what do you think?
I've personally grown up with and around people confused as a child and not knowing whether they wanted to be with a girl or a guy, and ended up dating my sister at one point in time. Years later, came out being gay, and he's as happy as he can be with his husband right now. So seeing that process of him trying to express himself and come out of that was an eye-opener for me right there at the age of 9, 10, 11, watching him grow up and be a part of my family for years. It's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, Matt.
I've had a few female friends in the past who were of that lifestyle, but they felt there was quite a stigma to it. And so I would be their date at high school reunions, at company Christmas parties, at weddings. Well, they're with a guy. But it was just a show thing. And then there were times where afterwards I would drop them off to a bar that didn't want guys. Just that, fine, they're going to get a ride home. But it was just like our little secret, and nobody was judging anyone. But they just wanted that presentation because this was people at work or family that they haven't seen in years, and I can go along with that.
That's cool.
I have a story I have to tell that I don't think I've ever told before. And when I was 20, I was a waiter at Denny's in downtown Seattle, and a group of 11 people came in, and I could identify 3 of them for their sex, which was obvious, and the rest of them I could not tell. They were either women or men or partially between, and because some of them were transvestites and they were changing and doing things like that, and so I ended up dating one of them, and she was involved with the gay lifestyle, and so we went to a couple of gay clubs as kids, and I was like 20, and in those days I had a lot of hair and I was skinnier and I looked good and all that, and I said, and so I started talking to this other kid, and he was obviously gay, and I said, so can I feel safe here? And he said, "Oh, dude, come on! You're obviously not gay. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna talk to you. We would no more do that. They've got radar that tells them that. So we don't. If anybody is worried about somebody being forward with them or stuff, they know better. They're like, at least that's been my experience. Has anybody ever been in an uncomfortable situation?
They
My
have
honey.
straight R.
Your honey was in an uncomfortable. What happened?
At work, I think somebody came up to him and told him that he's not gay, but his hair and the way he smells is turning him on. This was a coworker of his.
Oh, great.
Let's beep 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 it out so they don't know.
Matt, go ahead.
A gal who I know that way, we were at some restaurant and she pointed at these two girls and she said they're a couple. And I asked, why do you do that? You see two guys together, you see two girls, you already formulate that they are. So she started talking about the dress code and this and that and how they're doing little things. And I said, I don't detect anything out of the norm. Well, when one of them went to the bathroom, she had to follow and came back. Yeah, they are. But it's what you're saying. If you're from the inside, you know.
You got this radar going on, and
Yeah.
which is good. By the way, I want to make sure that everybody that's listening now or in the future understands that we are not talking about pedophiles. We're not talking about deviant behavior. We're talking about adult behavior, doing of what they want to do and loving who they want to love.
In the state of Montana.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paulette. I opened up a door that I shouldn't have opened.
We'll go old fashioned and get the Tabasco sauce.
Oh, wow.
But nobody disagrees with that statement, I assume.
Right.
Well, there's always go ahead. Sorry.
One of the things I enjoy doing radio with you three and with Kevin, you don't give out cheap shots. It's fun, but you make sure that we're not targeting and making a monster out of something. You're making this a very enjoyable topic. It's kind of a common ground. You got that flow going right now.
Well, we have to admit, gay people have, not only did they nail the political movement with that term pride, but we have to admit they've got some of the best sense of humor there is.
Oh, hands down, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're really onto something. I mean, who doesn't love, some of the best gay humorists out there? They're terrific.
Go ahead, Matt, and then I got something to say.
When my daughter was young, she was having a lot of success modeling, and one day she was paid a lot. She might have been in grade school, but it was Sebastian hair products. Dad, these are the good ones. The ones that are gay. She made the big time.
Susan says she had a faux pas years ago. She made a mistake of using a derogatory comment about her new boss about homosexuals, not having a clue that the guy was gay.
Boy, that's uncomfortable.
That would be
uncomfortable.
That would be terrible. But honestly, you know what I miss? Watching a gay man and a woman having a conversation, because you've taken sex off the table, it's out of the equation. They can have a real, honest to goodness, fun dialogue without the woman having to worry about saying something that's going to get the guy thinking that, oh boy, she's coming on to me, or he's coming on to her, because it's clear nobody's coming on to anybody. They're just having a good human to human exchange, and I love that, Matt.
My old girlfriends would tell me that my brother Dan was of that lifestyle, and this was before I was aware of it or whatever. But to make a long story short, my former wife, any gal I'm dating, they like alone time. They talk, they laugh, they're just having a great time. Comedy all the way, great. It's what you're saying.
Yeah. And because I honestly believe that if we could take sex off the table, and so that we can have honest to goodness dialogue with people of the opposite sex, that we're not tainted by expectation, by desire, by all of this stuff. I mean, I think that we would be better off. Kayla, what do you think? Or do you like the game?
Sorry, I was squirreled by a 3-year-old. So you want to repeat it?
Do you think do you like the game between men and women, or do you wish that we could have a civil conversation without having to worry about sexuality and sexual overtones of all of that?
I think that's just nature. I think everybody just gets a perspection in their mind of how they feel, or if they get rubbed off the wrong way or something. So it's just it goes back to intuitiveness. You go with your gut feelings.
Interesting that you said rubbed off in the wrong way.
Oops.
that was
Freudian slip.
That brought up images that I'm not sure we want to bring into this conversation.
My wording is not on key today. I'm sorry.
And Susan again says, today I have nieces and nephews who are either gay or gender fluid, and they are out and proud for the most part. I love them with all my heart. And I just want to make the observation that, and Kayla, you should be seeing this in the next few years. Kids today have a different attitude. There are kids that are in junior high and high school that have come out already. They've made the decision that that's what they're going to be. In my day, that never. You'd get taken out back behind the gym and beat up if you ever said that you were a gay individual back in the 70s.
Think about being a military serving our country.
Same thing.
And how hard it would be to have to hide yourself for so many years, or you'd get shipped off and gone. You'd be what's the word I'm looking for?
Blanket party.
Pretty much. You'd be gone. You'd have to kick rocks, So imagine the struggle that, the people that had to go through the service and had to deal with, and being able to come out with when they're now not in it anymore, and able to live a life of freedom and joy and happiness and pride, for goodness sake.
I remember the first time I came across gay marriage, and Kevin, this was a conversation I had with Mary.
Oh,
and she went to the wedding of a mutual friend of ours who'd since passed, and he was getting married to his husband that day, and I was I guess just turned 16. And although I knew gay people existed, I had no idea that, they get married and stuff. And my concept of marriage was that somebody had to wear a bride. Somebody had to be the bride wearing a gown. So I asked her, very seriously, who wore the dress? And she was irritated at me. She thought I was just being an ass, which I'm prone to do. And she said, no, nobody wore a dress. They both were tuxes and suits. They looked very nice. And I said, but they were getting married. Somebody had to wear a dress.
Yeah,
and she thought it took her 3 times to explain to my, young teenage mind that 2 males could get married in suits.
You were dragging your knuckles on the ground at that moment, by the way.
Embarrassingly so.
I'm pulling a mat, guys.
What?
I'm pulling a mat.
Okay, Kayla, go ahead.
You saying that, Eric, is something that just reminded me of a few years ago. I went to a wedding for my daughter's godfathers. And I say godfathers because they were both in tuxedos. And my son, I think about the time, I think he was 8. And he was like, how come they're in tuxes? Like, how come there's not a, she's a girl, he's a guy. You know, how come they're both in suits? And I was like, because she's a girl who wants to be a guy, you know, and it's something just special. And that's how they chose to get married. She didn't want to be in a dress. She doesn't feel comfortable. She feels comfortable being in a suit, and she rocked it. She looked like a damn badass.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's still confusion from when you were 16 to my
Thank
son
God.
being 8 and a few years ago. There's still that,
Thank
okay,
God.
whoa, you know, it's still there.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
It's still there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Matt?
You know, I was an interior designer for 25, 26 years.
So you were around a great deal of guys because
Oh, yeah. You know, and
that-
I was a dancer before then and a musician. So, of course, I ran into gay people all the time. And many of the kids that I knew back when I was 16, you know, 15, even 12 years old, as I was growing up, they came out of the closet. So I watched my friends, you know, become gay and become comfortable.
Wake up. Keep moving.
Something happened.
Uh-oh.
Designer, you know, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you froze for a moment. We thought you'd been struck dead.
Okay. Oh, thank God I wasn't. As an interior designer, there were times, you know, you work for yourself, and business at times is very difficult to get by. And I'd have discussions with people to find out how they conduct their business, what works for you, what doesn't. And not only one person, but a couple of each gender said, well, it might help if you were gay. So there's a perception out there. There's a perception out there of what gay people are and what straight people are. And it's not always true. You know, it's we saw the sitcom that lasted forever, Frasier.
Yeah.
And many times on that show, they made fun of that exact same situation. Because who would ever think that Frasier's brother, what was his name?
Matt, you should know this.
God.
Actually, I've only seen that show a little bit. I don't know the show real well.
Oh, okay.
Miles was his. Yeah. Niles, N-I.
Niles. That's right. That's
Who
right.
would ever guess Niles was straight? But
Yeah.
he was, you know, on the show. So they made fun of that many times. And it is a true perception out there. Artists, we think immediately that they're gay. Interior designers, we think immediately they're gay. And it just isn't necessarily so. And why? I'm going to go out on a limb. Because of taking sex out of the equation, you're able to focus on the conversation. You're able to focus on higher thought and encompass things that have aesthetics and love portrayed in it. And because sex isn't always about love, and often it is vulgar, there's a refinement in that process. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, the gospel according to City Slickers says that
I'd love
women need a reason, men just need a place.
It's so true. It's so true.
So I watched that the other night. So Matt.
In recent years, people have been more and more outspoken, open about bringing it up in conversation publicly. That includes shirts, everything, but really being assertive about it. And when I retired, on occasion, I would work at a hotel or something, and I saw a group of businessmen together. And oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I got to get home. Well, my husband's waiting for. And the thing is, it kind of got me because I'm not quite used to it all the way, but it's there. You know what I'm saying? Like this conversation we're having, kind of abruptly, it got out there publicly, and it's a little assertive.
Which part?
People used to never talk about this.
Ah.
They not only talk about it, but there are those that promote it.
Well, but you know what's interesting about it is that we're all human beings, and we need to understand that. For instance, Natasha Natasha Venter, she's got a child who is transgender, and so those things happen. And if the more we talk about it, the less mystery there is behind it, and the more understanding we can have of it. At least
I
that would
agree.
be my hope.
I agree with you.
I still have a difficult time keeping track of the whole thing. My roommate, who's lesbian, who we talk about relationships, she divorced her wife, but stayed friends and was able to develop a friendship with her wife's new wife. And the three of them still keep in touch. And I've met them both, and they're, it's obvious the three have some sort of bond. They get together, and you can tell that they're sort of the same mind. And they have a son, and I forget the story how the son came about, but they raised this kid, and my roommate participated in raising him. And he's a terrific guy. He's 30 something and has done very well educated, doing very well for himself, very well adjusted. And like Kayla mentioned before, the attitudes are changing, very self-aware. You can tell when you have a conversation, because he was here last week. We had a long conversation about just about general things. And you can tell you're talking to a wholly different human than people of our generation.
What's interesting about that as well is that when gay people started to get married, the consensus was they should not have children because they're going to indoctrinate their kids to be exactly how they are. Well, you know what? It's proven to be absolutely not true. You are who you born to be, and I get it that it's hard for people to understand that. As an example, my 91-year-old mother has a real tough time with that because she says that it's a choice and that it's a choice that they shouldn't make because they're going to go to hell because it's a sin. And it's like, so, and I said, well, how do they avoid that? And she said, don't have a relationship. So we're telling these people that we're going to deny them happiness because of some rule that we have decided that means that they are going to go to hell. And that's none of our business. And we should not be judgmental about that anyway. I appreciate your thoughts on that, folks.
Well, Christianity, with all of its good, has so many things that keep us from being self-realized. And there are things in the Bible that speak out against it. And there are things in the Bible that speak in support of it. And there are churches that support homosexuality. The older religions, God, listen to me. The older religions, more established religions, do not. And I think, man, I hate to go down this rabbit hole, but there was a time when humans needed organized religion to organize the culture, to procreate, give us a purpose, give us a sense of higher self, help keep order, because we were pretty much Stone Age people trying to grasp something better. And religion, with all of its terrific fine points, helped organize that. And when you have men in control of that, you're going to have control over the population. So their norms are imposed, which is why women were exploited and homosexuality was exploited. Priests are big on using them. And let's be clear, before Christianity, outside of Christianity, during the development, homosexuality existed. Spartans, we all know about Spartans, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they used boys as their assistants in all ways. Not only did they train them for war, but they used them sexually. This is part of coming of age. Oh God, this is part of their training. So it's a natural thing. This is what humans do, and we've made it something else because we make our lives more difficult.
We do indeed. Well, you know what, guys? We're going to end. I could do this discussion. I could hang out with you guys all day long. But we're going to keep this under an hour because I've got another very important podcast coming up right after this. we're going to talk to the gentleman that he's a doctor, and he diagnosed Robin Williams with a rare disorder, which is what ended up killing him. But before we go, mapbooks.net, go there and buy one of his books. He's a hell of an author. He does a great job. And so Matt, anything you'd like to add before we go?
I love the panel. This is a fun show, and we love Montana.
We do love Montana.
Yes,
Montana's beautiful.
Paulette is very forgiving of my foot and mouth disease. So Kayla, you're on mute, darling.
I'm on mute. Oops. I said thank you, Paulette, when she came up and did that, by the way, but I was on mute. Just love who you are, because deep down, that's all that really matters. Thanks for joining us today.
You know, it's interesting that you just said that is a Metallica song. Nothing else matters. Be who you are, because nothing else matters. And that's I hear that song whenever I need something. Eric, thank you for wearing the tie. You're welcome to join me on the next podcast if you'd like. What would
Take my place.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
And what would you have to add?
Oh man, keep an open mind. Know that never look at the blowfish again. The same. Think of the possibilities. Yeah, they might be spiny, they might be poofy, but apparently dolphins know something we don't. It's not just sushi. They're not just sushi anymore.
No, and I thought the electric eel thing was, it's a natural vibrator. I don't know. I can't believe I said
that's. I was once in a buddy of mine ran a sex shop on Capitol Hill, and I went in this place. And you ever hear of a penis plunger?
No, I'm afraid
use your imagination. But they have an electric version of that, where you could plunge and then turn on a little electrical charge. And I had to think of that when I found out that dolphins like eels. There you go. That's my ending.
Well, Capitol Hill.
Goodbye.
So Matt, would you like the address to his friend's shop? No, I'm kidding.
Shockingly, the place went out of business.
So Matt, thank you. I know that this, in some manner and ways, was a little painful for you, but I appreciate you participating.
No, my brother Dan and Lloyd, great. I'm from South Seattle. We're good.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I want to thank everybody for listening now and in the future. And be kind to each other, because as Kayla says, nothing else matters. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other, because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.